Hey everyone, welcome to Barter Hordes. My name is Robert, and today is the call for judges video for next year's BookTube Prize. Most of you already know that we announced this year's winner on Saturday evening, and we'll start making preparations for the 2020 prize, and that includes signing up this year's pool of judges. As you've probably heard if you follow the prize at all, we're adding a division. I'll talk about that more in a minute, but it's going to mean more judges. The first thing I want to do is once again thank all the people involved in judging the 2019 prize. It was a terrific turnout. I'm just amazed at the support you've given me over this experimental process. And now that I know that the process works, I'm anxious to see how it can grow in the future as we start to look for corporate sponsorship and actually award a cash prize to the winners in future years. I'm not sure we'll be able to do that in 2020 yet. A lot depends on what happens in the first couple of months of the year, but we'll see. Okay, the biggest question I get about judging the BookTube Prize is who's eligible to be a judge. And it's a wide open invitation. I don't invite people individually very often. I try not to because I want it to be open to anyone who's interested. Do you have to have a BookTube channel to be a judge? No, it is highly recommended that you do because part of the purpose of the BookTube Prize is to foster conversations about this list of books that we'll be judging together, but it's not absolutely necessary that you have your own content channel. If you're an active commenter, you are eligible to be a judge for the prize. We had a number of our judges this year who don't make videos themselves, but actively watch and comment on other people's videos, and they were wonderful judges. So it's open to anybody who's an active member of the BookTube community. If you just show up on BookTube once every 6 months or so, you're probably not the ideal judge for us, but I wanted to leave it as an open invitation to anybody who's involved. Now, I will say this, a couple of people this year started channels as a result of their prize judging experience, which I think is wonderful, and I hope more of that happens. I am working on some possibilities for even more promotion of the judges. After each round comes out, I'd like to foster even more discussion by the judges, and I have a couple of ideas that I'll share with you as we go through. So that's who's eligible to judge. This year, as I mentioned a second ago, we're going to have two divisions. We're not just going to do fiction. We're going to keep the fiction division just as it was this year. It's focused on novels, not short stories, not works in translation, which I see as a separate endeavor and a very valuable one, but it's not the same thing as judging a novel in its native language. So we're focused just on novels published in English in the United States in the last year. Now, does that mean we're only talking about American novels? No. Any novel originally published in English is eligible in the year that it is published in the United States. So Australian books, English books, Irish books are all those countries where English is the primary language are going to be eligible for this prize once their books show up in the United States publishing. The second division we're adding this year is nonfiction. This is kind of a wide open category. It can include collections of essays, it can include biographies, histories, all sorts of things, memoirs. The only restriction I'm putting on it, other than that it's published in English in the United States, is that it needs to be a work by a single author. So an anthology of essays by multiple authors would not be eligible for this particular prize. But almost everything else is technically eligible. What are you committing to if you decide to judge the BookTube Prize? Well, the biggest commitment is that you're agreeing to read 6 books within a 2-month period. Some of those could potentially be long. If Duck's Newburyport shows up on our list for next year, somebody's going to have to volunteer to take on a massive book, or some people who have already read it going into the prize might be judging that book. So you're agreeing to read 6 books within a 2-month period. You're going to rank the books 1 to 6. You're not giving them scores, you're just ranking them. Number 1 is your favorite book of the 6. Number 6 is your least favorite of the 6. It's possible, especially as we get into the later rounds, that you love all 6 books. You still have to give one of them a 5, one of them a 6, and so on. You can't give any ties. So you're agreeing to rate the books. You're also agreeing to not talk about your reading process and your ratings with anybody else during the course of the round. I want the judges to reach their decisions completely independently, so you're not persuaded by somebody else's experience with the book, which is, I see as one of the biggest flaws with most major literary prizes, is they get in a room and they horse trade until they can come to a consensus. I'm not sure you get great results that way, and I think you get abuses sometimes that way. So I'm going to treat this very much like we do in the speech and debate world in high school, where the judges make up their minds and sign their ballots independently, and then afterwards talk about where you agreed and where you disagreed. That's half the fun. I'm asking you to meet your deadlines. You'll always know exactly how long you have to read the books and turn in your ballots. Don't make me go gray or pull out the rest of my hair by missing deadlines at the end of each round. I really need your ballots on time, or the whole next round gets delayed, and no one wants that. This year, except for a couple of times when I just got nervous, everybody was great. And so I want that to continue, especially as we expand this and it's harder for me to keep up with more and more judges individually. And then the last thing that you're committing to, or at least attempting, is after the round is over and I've announced the results, I would like for you to create a video about your experience judging the books in your round. You've probably seen a number of these videos this year from the current judges, and that's been half the fun, is seeing where the judges' thoughts were about these 6 books and how judges are going to be very different on some books. I mentioned in my announcement video for the winner that all 6 books in the finals were ranked number 1 by some judges, and all of them were ranked number 6 by some judges. So there's always going to be some differences of opinions. By having more judges, we even that out a little bit, which is what I like about this prize format. So that's what you're committing to. What is the schedule? What is the time commitment in terms of the number of rounds you have to judge? You're not committing to judge more rounds than you want to. In the form that you'll fill out, it asks you which rounds you're available for. There are 4 rounds. The first thing we do in January is I send the judges a list of books that are candidates for that year's prize, and I give them about a week to look over the list and make additional suggestions if there's a glaring error of omission of a book that I should have put on the list, or if there's a book that I've included on the list that doesn't meet our criteria. Last year I included a book or 2 that were actually in translation and we had to take those off the list. But you have about a week to make suggestions of books that you really think have a real shot of making our top 48. If it's a book that you really liked but no one else has ever heard of it, the odds are it might not make the top 48, because that's a tough hurdle to make as many books come out. So don't just suggest everything that you liked in the last year, but suggest anything that you think that I've really overlooked as an error. I can't keep up with all the titles as much time as I spend looking at lists. And then I go back and revise that list, and then I'll send you a voting form through a Google form where you can go through the list of all the books that are eligible and you can select up to 20. You don't have to select 20, but you may select no more than 20. And then I just simply compile those nomination votes, and the 48 books with the most votes become our field for the next year's prize. All that takes place in January, and it does require you to turn around your list and your votes for those 20 titles relatively quickly, but you're not actually committing to reading anything in January. The reading itself begins in February. Our first round, what we call the octafinals, because there are 8 groups of books. The first round starts February 1st and runs through February and March. I usually make the deadline the 25th of the month, so you would have from February 1st to March 25th. I usually give you a couple of days before the first of the month, so you actually really do get 2 full months to read the books. And then you have to turn your ballot in to me. It's a Google form by March 25th. That's round 1. If you're judging in the next round, the quarterfinals, where there are 4 groups of books, you would be judging in April and May. Same thing, you would have exactly 2 months to read the 6 books in your group in April and May. Obviously, as we progress through the year, you might be judging a group where you've already read 1 or more of the books, and so you wouldn't have to read all 6. But there's a potential that you would have to read 6 new books. So February, March is the first round. April and May is the quarterfinals. The semifinals take place in the summer, June and July, and then the finals take place in August and September. And then our announcement of the winner and our meetup is the first weekend in October. So from the first day you start reading in February till the announcement in October, the contest runs 8 months, but we spend the month of January preparing. You are welcome to sign up for one of those rounds. If you do only sign up for one round, I would prefer it to be one of the first 2 rounds. Those are the rounds where we need the most judges. And so any help you can give us in the first 2 rounds is especially welcome. You can sign up for 1 round. We had a number of judges who were only able to judge 1 round this year. And we had a number of judges who signed up for all 4 rounds and read books every time. It all depends on what you can do within your schedule. When you sign up, I've made a note on the form that you're not signing up in stone. If your schedule changes, let's say you sign up for all 4 rounds, and suddenly you realize in June and July, you can't do any judging because you're going to be gone. As long as you give me some advance notice, that's not a problem. We can find a replacement for you. So you're not signing up for anything in concrete, but you are giving me an idea of how many judges we'll have for each round. Now, how many do we need? This year, one of my issues in round 1 is that we used judge panels with only 3 judges. And you can get some pretty skewed results when you have a small judge panel. And a number of people have complained that some fantastic books got bounced out of the competition in the first round. That's going to happen when you have only 3 judges in a panel. So ideally, I would like to bump up round 1 to judge panels of 5 judges. Well, that means 40 committed judges in round 1 in each division, 40 for fiction, 40 for nonfiction. We can do it with fewer than that, but you get a little bit quirkier results when you have fewer than the 5 judges. So we need 40 for round 1. Ideally, we would have 9 judge panels in round 2, so that would take 36 judges. So you can see that rounds 1 and 2 really have the greatest need for judges. When we get to the semifinals, and they're just 2 sections, I would like to use a minimum of 15 judges, which is what we use this year. So that means we need 30 judges for each division. And then in the finals, I will use as many judges as sign up, but I'd like to use a minimum of 25. 25 was just an absolute wonderful number to work with this year. So we need 40 in round 1, 36 in round 2, 30 in round 3, and 25 in round 4 in each division to really do this to the level that I think would make a fair decision. So if you're interested in judging, please fill out the form. I will leave the form open until sometime, maybe the 3rd week of December, sometime around the holidays. And then I'll close it down to start my planning for who's going to judge which rounds. But fill it out now rather than later. You can always go back and edit your entry, or you can just email me and tell me what's changed and I'll update my database. But unless you fill out the form, I won't enter you into the judge pool because that's where I draw all my official entries. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to fill out the questionnaire that's linked below. But please do that. And also, if you would, I only have fewer than 2,000 subscribers, which I'm tickled that I have that many, but it means that I'm not reaching all of BookTube with this video. If you are interested in the growth of the prize, even if you decide you're not going to judge it yourself, if you would mention this call for judges on your channels and link to this video so they have the access to the sign-up form, I would really appreciate that. Let's use the power of our network and get as many people involved in this process as want to be involved right from the start. I'm really excited about year 2, and I hope we get enough judges to sign up that we can add the nonfiction division. It all depends on who signs up. If 10 people sign up to judge nonfiction, obviously we can't do it. But if 40 sign up, I'm going to feel wonderful about it. So you are welcome to sign up for fiction only. You're welcome to sign up for nonfiction only, or you're welcome to sign up for a bit of each, and I'll put you in the 2 different events as I need you throughout the year for the rounds that you've signed up. If you have any questions, please email me or leave a comment or a question below this video. I'll answer every question, even if I've answered it before. I want you to have the information, and I know information gets scattered sometimes on the internet, so I want that all to be available to you. I'm super excited. We have a couple of months off to rest, and then we start up again with our preparations in January, and we get busy reading in February. In the meantime, I'm continuing to read a ton of 2019 releases to try to prepare the initial lists that you will choose the field from. This really is your prize. I don't have a whole lot of sway over how the prize goes other than the administration of the ballots. I'm not a voting member unless it's an emergency and I have to fill in for somebody. So my views on which books should win aren't coloring this at all. I have very strong opinions, but I'm keeping them to myself about the prize until the rounds are over. I too thought there were some excellent books that got bounced early. That's the nature of a competition. Sometimes the favored football team loses and the underdog pulls it out. Newcastle United beating Man United this weekend. That happens. You would never predict it. You probably wouldn't bet a lot of money on it, but it does happen. So please sign up, take part. I want all the judges. If you're waiting for an invitation from me individually, please don't wait. It's not going to happen because I've got too many things on my plate to keep up with who I've invited individually. You're all invited. I want you all to judge and enjoy this experience to whatever level fits your lifestyle and your schedule. Okay, I've rambled enough. Please fill out the form, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.